Hi, it's TRX Master Instructor Amy McMullen, and today I've got a 30-minute core strength workout for you guys today with mostly intermediate level exercises. We're going to have 4 exercises on your TRX suspension trainer. We're going to have 3 exercises using your TRX slam ball, and we're going to go through that 3 times through. So it's a little circuit here. Each round is going to get a little bit harder than the last, so expect for that third round to be pretty tough. We're going to be working your abs, your obliques, your back, your booty. Get excited. All right, so you're going to want a mat for the floor work, but you don't need it yet. But for right now, you can start with your straps at mid-length, and I'll go ahead and get the timer started so we can get after it. All right, so we are going to get started with some TRX squat rows. So grabbing your straps, facing your anchor point, go ahead and lean it back. Feet are going to be slightly wider than your hips, and your hips are going to be all the way straight here. All right, so I'm going to drop my tailbone down towards my heels for a little hack squat, pull up my chest towards my hands for a high row. 1 squat, 1 high row. And if you check me out from the side, I look good, right? Check me out from the side, you're going to see my nice flat back. So at the bottom of my squat, I'm not collapsing here and rounding my back. And at the top, I'm not leading with my hips on the way up. So today's workout is kind of all centered around the plank. So you want to make sure you can keep a straight line from head to hips. We're going to flip around. We'll go do some rollouts. So facing away from the anchor point, palms down at shoulder height. I do this in almost every warm-up because if you come on your toes, if you straighten your hips, it's gonna get your abs ready to support your spine. So as I raise my arms up overhead, my spine's gotta stay straight, my abs will get a little bit shaky, and then I come back out. I'm moving slowly at first, and I'm taking my time. So I've got some overhead shoulder mobility issues, so I kind of have to keep that in check. So I'm moving slowly here, just to make sure everything stays safe and I'm able to keep my spine stiff and stable in this neutral position. All right, single arm golf swings. We're gonna face the anchor point. You're gonna go palms down at hip height, and then you're gonna take a little quarter squat forward, little hinge forward here. I'm gonna keep my eyes on the ground. You guys can watch me for a rep or two. As I take my right arm up and around, I take the right hip with it. Same thing with the left. So my head is going to stay facing the floor, but my arms, my chest, my hips, my knees are all kind of moving here. I'm opening up my torso to each side of the room, and I'm letting that hip come with me. So I'm getting some rotation in the shoulders, in my spine, in my hips. It feels really nice. Okay? And then lastly, we're going to take some wide hip hinges. So in part of our workout today, we're going to be moving our legs, but we're trying to keep our upper body still and stiff, like I was saying. So I'm going to go feet wide, palms down. Now, can you keep a flat back as you hinge forward with your hips? And then can you keep that flat back also on the way back up? All right. So I'm going to shoot my hands forward towards the anchor and my hips back towards the back wall. And then I'm going to press down to come back up. I want to tilt my tailbone back as I cruise forward. And then when I come up, I'm pulling it back underneath me, getting everything kind of, you're thinking on the way back up, stacking it, hips, then ribs and shoulders, okay, all in one line. So let's go ahead and get set up. We're going to do this whole workout with our straps at mid-calf length. So standing under the anchor point, tilt your barrel locks and get those handles down to the bottom of your kneecaps. So that will put the foot cradles at mid-calf or about 8 to 12 inches off the floor. I'm going to face away for these kneeling rollouts. I'm going to press my hips straight and do the same move that we were doing in the warm-up. So raising my arms overhead and then back down. Now, can you do this even when you're on your knees and making sure that your hips are staying in a straight line? A lot of times people will do good on the way out and then they break at the hips on the way up. So what you're going to try to do is keep those hips straight all the way forward and all the way back. If you need more, just scoop back a little bit closer to your anchor point. And if there's a wall or a door behind you and you can't go back any further, lengthen out your straps to long, and that will help get you some more range of motion. All right. But if you straighten them all the way out to long, you got to pick them back up to mid-calf length for this side plank, all right? So we need to get our toes in. You guys are intermediate, so I imagine that you know how to get your toes in. I just reach back and swoosh mine in that way, but if you need to do the little crisscross or lay on your back version, that's fine. Side plank. So I'm over on my side, heel and toe are together, and I'm gonna go ahead and press myself up. My elbow is directly under my shoulder. This first round, we're just holding to kind of find our balance. So my top leg is in the front. Now, the TRX police are not gonna come get you if your top leg is in the back. However, if your top leg is in the front and you're trying to balance with your arm off, if you lose your balance, if that top leg is in the front, you're gonna fall forward where you can catch yourself. If the top leg is in the back, you're likely to fall backwards where you can't catch yourself, and that's gonna not be awesome for that shoulder. So that's why we say top foot in the front here. Hand down, hips down. Let's switch sides. If you roll to your stomach, that helps. When you switch sides, your top foot's already in the front. So I'm gonna line myself up with my anchor point. I'm gonna make sure my feet and my hips and my head are all in one line, because it's really easy for your hips to go back and your feet to go forward here. So pressing down out of the shoulder, lifting up. I think I'm like a little too far or too close to my anchor point. You want your feet under the anchor. All right, I'm gonna press up here. Once my feet are still and I've got my balance, I'm gonna look forward, keep my hips high, and then if you feel stable, you're gonna take the arms off. Now I'm pressing my hips forward towards this wall, looking straight ahead. We've got 10 seconds left here. Like I said, we're just holding for this first set. Things are gonna get harder coming up, but we'll treasure this moment of staying still. Hand down, hips down. Now, we need to get our heels in the foot cradles for some hip press, or no, hamstring curls. Yeah. If your foot cradles were small before, you're gonna wanna make them big so you've got plenty of room for your feet. All right, I need my mic pack out of the way. I'm gonna lay back, grab these foot cradles, heels go in top, and then I'm gonna straighten my legs. So hamstring curl, you're gonna lift the hips. Like I was saying earlier, you're gonna keep the spine still as you bring your heels in towards your hips and then straighten them back out. So if I can get my knees over my hip bones, that would be optimal. If you can't, you're pulling really hard and it's not working, scoot forward a little bit and that will help you out. But as I look forward at my knees and ankles for a second, my toes are straight up to the sky. I had to level out my feet there for a second. And I'm pulling in and back out. If you want this harder, take those arms off the floor. Okay? Now, done with the strap work, going over to our slam ball. So first, you're going to use this as a little target to avoid. So it doesn't matter what size you've got. we're going to take a little hip flexion work. So we're going to try to stabilize at our spine while our hip flexors and quads get some work here. So feet are on the floor. Actually, I'm going to scoot back a tiny little bit. So I'm going to come up with a tall spine. I'm going to lean back, straightening my right leg out. I'm going to lift the leg up and over without moving my torso, and then I'm going to switch legs. So this leg comes in, left leg goes out this time, up and over, and switch legs. Now, the lower you are here, the harder that's going to be to keep your back flat. So you're just trying to keep this up and over, still flat spine, okay? So now we're going to do a little jackknife action with the ball. You're on your back, okay? Go ahead and press the ball up and lift the legs up. Now your spine is not going to go anywhere, all right? So the legs are up, you can keep your knees bent. The ball is going to go back and you're going to drop your right leg towards the floor and you're going to bring everything back up. Now the left leg goes, ball goes back, left leg comes down, everything is back up. If you are keeping your belly button in and you're not letting your back arch more off the floor and you're not letting your back dig into the floor, you're trying to keep a neutral spine, so meaning that natural curve, you'll feel your abs stabilizing throughout that move, okay? Last one are these rainbow hinges. So you're gonna hop up with your ball. Now, depending on your upper body strength and your shoulder well-being, you might want a lighter ball to start with this, and you can move up to a heavier one as we get going. So you're gonna face to the side, Drop this back knee and hinge forward at your hips. The ball is going to come up and over. You pivot the feet, bend the back knee, and hinge forward. So up and over, little hinge. Up and over, little hinge. So same thing, I'm looking for that straight line from the head to the hips, but in order to bring everything around with you, you've got to pivot the feet. You've got to bend that back knee a little bit and keep those arms long, all right? So that was round 1. Hope it went great. Set 2, round 2. We're going back to our kneeling rollouts. Straps are still mid-calf length. We're going to kneel down, facing away from the anchor point. This time, we're going to be doing, I'm going to show you the option to face the anchor point if you want this harder. So if you don't want it harder, you're going to face away this way. If you do want a little bit more of a challenge and there's not a door or a wall in front of you, you're going to face the anchor point. So straighten your hips, send yourself forward, stop when you feel like you've got kind of maximum control, and then come back up. So I can go a little bit, but like I said, my shoulders don't love it when I go overhead. I don't have a lot of mobility there. So I'm going to stay facing away with my hips straight. But like I said, you can always lengthen out your straps and then get your feet and your knees closer to the anchor point to make this harder, to allow you to have a little bit more range of motion throughout this move. Just keep breathing. It's easy to hold your breath here. I was just doing that same thing. All right, so getting our toes in for those side planks. We're going to add some rotation this time. So I'm going to lay back. I'm going to put my toes up through the center. I'm going to move my mic out of the way. And then I'm going to post up. I'm in line with my anchor point sideways. Top foot's in the front. Heel to toe, pushing together. Now, I'm going to lift up here, and I'm going to find my balance. Level 1 rotation. Put the hand down, hips up, look under the arm, bring the hips back to center, and then raise off. Hand down, little pike as you look underneath your arm, come back to center and back down. You can always just hold the plank. You don't have to take the rotation if you don't want to, and you don't even have to let go of the floor. You can keep that hand down as long as you promise me from wherever you are, they're going to open your chest back up, okay? So even if the hand is down, turn back to the front and complete the movement. Other side. Whew. Getting warm in here. All right, so other side. Make sure you're in line with your anchor point, heel to toe. Now, if you press your feet together, that creates some stability in the lower body, so that's why that helps. Press up, find those high hips first. So if your hips are down here by the floor, it's going to be a lot of tension on your shoulder. The more you lift your hips up, let those obliques help you, the better it'll be. So hand down, hips pike up, look under your arm, come back to center, test it, see if you've got that balance with the arm off. Hand down, hips underneath, little look through, and then back up. Hand down, hips up. Like I said, if you're feeling wobbly, or if those legs start doing like a fish out of water action, keep that hand down. All right, so heels in. We're going for the hip press this time. So you're gonna wanna be a little bit closer to your anchor point. We need our heels in, and I like to put my straps up a couple inches taller on hip presses because that is better for my knees. So knees over your hips, hands on the ground, and you're gonna press your hips straight up and then back down without straightening your legs at all. The hips come up, the hips lower down, and if I can see my knees and my toes, they're parallel with each other, all right? So sometimes we have a tendency to knock our knees together or to splay our knees out while we press up, but you're gonna try to see if you can do this keeping everything parallel. You don't have to go quickly. You just have to move with intention and with purpose and do as I say. And rest. Okay, come up out of that. Woo, we're going to the ball. So we're back up and over with our little rainbow legs for the hip flexor work. So ball is in front of you. You're here. We're going to be up and over this way. If you want, you can bring the ball with you and make that hinge a little bit harder on your abs. So nice straight spine. You're going to hinge back just a little bit, belly button in, straighten the right leg. Imagine there was a ball there. You're up and over, switch legs. Left leg straight. Up and over, switch legs and out. Now, if you need a rest, sit up and take it, and then reset back down. So straighten the right leg out, up and over. You might feel your hip flexor. You might feel your TFL, which is this little muscle at the top of the side of your hip. But if you feel it, that means you need to work it, all right? I put that ball down like I was done with it. We're not done with it. We're going back to our jackknives. This time, we're gonna see if you can do both legs dropping. If it doesn't work, go back to that single leg that we were doing last time. So, on your back, press the ball up, legs up in the air. My right leg is gonna go down while the ball goes down and then come back up. Left leg down and come back up. If you're ready for two legs, both legs down, don't let them touch the floor, and then come back up. So the ball is also not touching the floor in the back. You're trying to keep a straight spine as you come forward. So as the legs lengthen, if you can feel your back popping up off the floor, then don't go as low, all right? You can also stop this at about a quarter of the way down or halfway down to make that doable, okay? Rainbow hinges. So now, second time through, if you want to make this more of a lunge and you want to drop that knee all the way down to the floor, that'll give you a little bit for the lower body and that booty. You don't have to. Ooh, I almost dropped it. Saved it. All right, shoulders back, drop the knee hinge forward. So up, like I said, you can lunge down all the way to the floor if you want to, but I want to see, keep going, I want to see your booty out, this hinge back. Try not to drop your shoulders forward. From here, we don't want to hunch back. We want a nice flat line. Okay, so shoulders stay back. Both feet pivot around. And done with round 2. Check. All right, round 3. Last one here. Half kneeling rollout. All right, I almost said that last time, but it's for real this time. So what you're going to do is you're going to face away from the anchor point. You can face the anchor, but let's get started the easier way before we bump it up. Make sure you got it before you move up. Palms down in front of you. I'm going to take my right knee kind of out to the side, Captain Morgan style. I'm going to shift my arms over to the left corner of my mat. I'm going to roll out that way over this knee, and then come back up. Foot, heel, knee. Arms out, hips forward, back in, and to center. Now, if you feel like you can go further, scoot it back a little bit, all right? Biggest thing is that you keep those hips straight as you cruise out. Now we're just working a little bit different angle for the core and hips. Switch legs. This knee is down. This leg is up. Now, you could have one side stronger than the other, which is what most of us have. So always start light and then add your resistance as you feel comfortable, okay? Earn your right to progress. Straighten those hips, arms out to the right corner this time, out and back up. I always suggest doing like 1 or 2 reps just to make sure you're solid and then go from there. You never know if you're gonna be like in a weird spot or you're gonna tweak something. So a couple smooth reps at the beginning, give you a little confidence to add some more in there. But yeah, TRX, we earn our right to progress. Level 2 is not gonna go well if level 1 doesn't. So we're going side plank in last time. So we gotta pop those toes in behind us. If you raised your foot cradles up higher for the hip presses, just remember they might still be up that way. So if you can't reach your toes in, maybe lengthen them back out an inch or so. Side plank. On the ground, sideways to the anchor point, top foot in front. This time, we're trying to do this pike and rotation with no touch if you feel solid, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this arm, pike my hips up, I'm gonna reach my hands to the back of my mat, barely tap, come back down, and then follow my hand with my eyes. So following it under, pike up, tap the back of your mat, and then slowly come back up. Straighten the hips all the way out, chest to the front, to complete the rep. This is just a strength workout, so we're going more over quality, harder reps, resistance-wise, than we are thinking the amount of reps. Hands down, hips down. Let's switch sides. All right, so give yourself time to kind of reorient yourself with the anchor point. Even out the feet so your heels are level with each other. And then get this top hip right on top of your bottom hip so that when you press up, you feel super solid here. Straight hips forward, arm up, find your balance first, and then you can start. Hips up, look underneath you, tap the back of the mat, come back to here. You can also just keep that hand hovered, just kind of over your mat. You don't have to take it up and down, but if that makes you feel a little bit safer, having that hand there, you can put it down each time. It's just up to you and kind of where you're at right now. You could do this fine one day and then be totally wobbly the next day because you're fatigued. So just keep that in mind. Just figure out where your level is each time you work out. So we're gonna hamstring curl into our hip press this time, one leg at a time. It's gonna be super fun. So fingers in the bottom of the foot cradles, lay back, heels over top, and then I'm gonna scoot forward a tiny little bit. So let's go hips up. We're gonna bring the right heel in first, then the left heel, then we're gonna hip press, lower back to where you were, and then straighten the legs, but not go to the floor. Left leg in first this time. Left heel, right heel, hip press, back to where you were, straight legs. Right heel, left heel, hip press, back out. Woo. Left heel, right heel, hip press, back out, keep going. I'm gonna move that mic away from my mouth, so if I start grunting any, oh, those hurt every time. Okay, legs up, balls, grab your balls. So we're gonna hinge back a little bit with or without your ball. All right, third set. Okay, so you're gonna be here. Make sure your shoulders are back, your back is flat, and you've got that hinge. Remember, you can leave the ball out for your target, or you can bring the ball with you. So I'm gonna bring it back, right leg out, up and over, switch legs, left leg, up and over, up and over. Now I can take the ball, press it up without moving my spine, and then start over. Right leg up and over, switch legs. Try not to arch or round your back. Left leg up and over. Now you can also take the ball forward just for a little challenge for the upper body. You don't have to do a lot here to feel that. Okay, third set for the jackknife. User's choice. You can go single leg, one leg at a time. You can go two legs. If you want to add a crunch, a little curl up at the top, you can, but only do that if you don't have any spine or disc issues, and bring your head with you. So here we go. Ball up, feet up. You can add the crunch if you'd like. You're gonna lower down, ball and leg or legs, come up first, take a little curl off, and then back down. Now, like I said, if you've got any spine or disc issues, leave everything on the ground. You can just do this with just the limbs and focus on keeping the head and the hips in line with that stable, stiff, neutral spine. Last one. Whew. Up and over. So, rainbow hinges or rainbow lunges. Now this last time, we're just gonna add some speed because this is the last thing that we're doing before we stretch. So, get excited. Shoulders back, drop the knee, booty out, chest out, up and over, down, up and over, down. Little hinge, dropping the knee, keeping those arms out in front of you. Now, if your ball is really big and heavy, and this isn't possible, keep it close to your chest, and you can keep it in front of you like a little hinge, good morning action. But if you can get those arms out, you're gonna get a lot more for your back and shoulders. Done, so y'all, boom. All right, so let's stretch it out. The good thing about these strength workouts is your heart rate can get high if you've got enough resistance, you don't have to do any jumping or burpees or anything. Okay, so we're gonna start with the TRX low back stretch. I like wipe the sweat off my face. Stand facing the anchor point. Walk back so your arms are straight, and you're gonna drop your tailbone back away from you, hips reaching back towards the back wall, just letting gravity do the work here, pulling your spine longer and longer. We're gonna bend our left knee this time, and you're gonna rotate the torso to the right side of the room. And then if you want, you can pull this right toe straight up towards the sky. For a little bit deeper stretch. You're looking under the arm, coming back to center and standing up. All right, little shakeout. We're gonna do the same thing. Relax your grip on your fingers. Do the same thing on the other side. So, shoulders back. Think as tall as you can be here, like you're balancing a book on your head at the top. And now forget about the book. Drop your hips back. Fold forward from the hips. Think the longest spine that you can get. Now, if your feet are really far forward, you're gonna be in this rounded spine position. That won't feel as great. So back those feet up so you can get a nice flat back. We're gonna rotate to the other side now. So bend your right knee this time. Twist to the left side of the room, pulling that left hip back, and then you can take the left toe up if you want more. 3, 2, 1. Come back to center and come up. So we're gonna take a little half kneeling hip flexor stretch. I'm gonna go all the way to the ground. You don't have to, but we're gonna face away from the anchor point, arms up overhead with the hands a little bit in front of my face. I'm gonna take a step back, not on my mat, so I don't do like the splits here. I'm gonna tuck my hips under and drop my knee towards the floor. So I'm gonna shoot my hips forward, reach the left arm back behind me, follow that with my eyes, and then I'm gonna take my top arm, my right hand, and shoot it over to the side. I can feel this stretch from my underarm, down my torso, into the front of my right hip, and back. Now I'm gonna just stay on the ground. You can stand up if you were doing this with like a hovered knee. Arms back up, right foot forward, tuck the hips under, and then shift everything forward. So I can already feel a hip flexor stretch right there because my hip flexors are tight. I'm gonna take my right hand back behind me. I'm gonna look back at it, and I'm gonna take this top hand and let it reach across. I'm trying to lengthen out this whole left side of my body. I feel this from my underarm, down my torso, into the left hip flexor. And if you've got tight hip flexors like almost everybody does, this should feel really nice. All right, and come up. I'm gonna tuck my back toe under to help me press up. Stand up. I'm gonna move my mat out of the way for this offset hip hinge. This is the last 2 stretches we're doing. So facing the anchor point, straight arms, right foot forward, left foot back, and I'm gonna hinge forward at the hips until I feel a really great hamstring stretch here. Now you can also bend the back knee just a tiny little bit and then try to press your belly towards your thigh a little bit more and kind of tilt your tailbone back toward the wall behind you or up to the ceiling to get a little higher hamstring stretch. You can keep both knees straight if you want a little bit more, if you're more flexible, and come all the way up. Let's switch legs. So palms down. Now, if you're not as flexible, back up so your hands are about chest height. If you're more flexible, scoot forward, hands at hip height. Left foot forward this time. Soften the knees. Tilt your tailbone to the back wall, flat back forward for that hammy stretch. Now, one thing that'll happen if you got tight hamstrings, and I just felt it happen on me, as I lean forward because I'm trying to go further, because I used to be able to go further, my right hip is slowly opening up because it's like, you can go further if we cheat a little bit. So, but we're gonna try to keep my right hip forward and square, and then I'm just gonna not go as far as I used to be able to in my glory days, and it'll be fine. Oh, and up. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Hopefully you felt that in your abs, your obliques, your low back, your booty, your hammies. If you guys have any questions, let me know, and I will see you next time. Thanks for joining me.